The first time I sensed something was seriously wrong was when my mother's voice, Elaine Whitmore, came through my voicemail. She never cried. She manipulated, she spun guilt, she occasionally stormed out, but she never showed any weakness. My name is Claire, and I have spent 31 years as the responsible child in a family where the mere mention of that word makes people wince. Responsibility, something I carry like a heavy cloak, while my brother Nathan lives like he is untouchable. The voicemail was recorded at 3:47 a.m. Her voice cracked like porcelain. Dear Claire, there is a problem with the bank. We need to talk now. It is about Nathan's loan. Please call back. Please. I listened 3 times, not because I didn't understand, but because I needed to be sure they were really doing what I'd been sensing for months, like dark storms gathering on the horizon. Another message came in. This time it was from my dad, Charles. Claire, you need to come home now. It's 4 a.m., Dad, I replied, even as I reached for my jeans. This can't wait. Your mother is... Just stay calm. 20 minutes later, I pulled up in front of the house where I grew up, in a quiet suburb of Oregon. The lawn was still perfect. The outside was the facade of a model family, but I knew that inside were the crumbs of years of silence and favoritism. I walked into the kitchen and saw them sitting there, my mother and father, looking as if they had aged 10 years overnight. I could see the panic in their eyes, though they tried to hide it behind mechanical smiles. What did Mom and Dad do? I asked, my heart heavy, but my mind was cold. I already knew the answer. Mom reached out to me, as if a handshake could mend anything. I put my hands in my coat pockets. My daughter, she said in the sweetest voice I had ever heard, the kind that always had some kind of hidden agenda. We have to make some tough decisions. For Nathan, for our family. I didn't blink. What did you do? Dad cleared his throat, avoiding looking at me. It's a business loan for Nathan and Lucas. We needed more collateral and used your savings account. Just for collateral? Mom interjected right. Didn't think it would go this far, but Lucas disappeared and the payments. The kitchen was spinning. The account I had opened when I was 16, the account where I had deposited my student salary, my small bonuses, was being used as if it belonged to Nathan. We knew you would understand, Mom said, her eyes pleading as if I was the unreasonable one here. Nathan needs a chance. You're always there for the family, right? I laughed, a dry laugh as if it came from ice. How can parents access their children's accounts? My father looked away. I still have some old papers from when you were a minor. The bank knows our family. My parents forged my signature, I said without asking. My mother shrugged, her eyes wavering. Not exactly fake, just implying that you were involved. Where is Nathan? I asked. No answer, Dad admitted, sounding confused. But Claire, the important thing is, the bank is calling about the loan. They want to repossess the collateral. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Mom rushed toward me, but I backed away. Do not, I said softly. Don't touch me now. I rotate the screen back. Balance, $291,247. Mother's face was pale. No way. It must be more than 300,000. Claire, what did you do? What are you doing? My voice was colder than the morning dew outside. Is that what you ask me now? Claire, Dad said. We need that money. The house is tied to a loan. We could lose it all. I looked around the kitchen where I learned to do things right, while Nathan learned to escape consequences with innocent smiles and parental indulgence. It's funny, I whispered. 3 months ago, Mom asked me about my account. Then Nathan called in the middle of the night about a new project, and Dad kept saying, family is about supporting each other. I walked towards the door. So I transferred the money. All of it. offshore, into a legitimate shell company, with a good lawyer, and it was completely safe. You knew? Mother's voice was broken. I knew you would try something. I just didn't think you would go so far as to break the law. And the house, Dad stammered, your childhood home, is about to become someone else's property. I opened the door. You should call a lawyer. I already did. Claire, Mom called after her. We are family. I turned back one last time. Yes, that's why I know I have to protect myself from my parents. The door closed behind me. The click. It sounded like the end of a lifetime of patience. What did you just say? Stella almost spilled her latte on the glass table in her 12th floor law office in Portland. The morning light streaming through the large window fell on her astonished face as I repeated, I have transferred all the money. 2 weeks before the night my parents confessed, I started planning. Not because I was suspicious, but because I had lived long enough to know. In my family, the only surprise was if someone aren't take advantage of me. How much is it all? Stella asked, leaning forward slightly as if the context wasn't enough to fully understand. All. I list as a narrative indictment. College savings, my grandmother's inheritance, and an emergency fund in case I lose my job or have surgery. Stella frowned. Are you sure they're up to something? I pulled out my phone and turned on the recorder. My mother's voice, Elaine, filled the office. Claire, honey, I was thinking about your savings account, the one at West Cascade Bank. Have you ever considered transferring some of it to a family trust? Let it grow interest? Stella squeezed the handle of the coffee cup lightly, her eyes cold. Trying to get information. Wait. I pressed on to the next part. Nathan's voice, soft as melted butter. Mom, just ask her. Claire has always been good with money. If she understands how important this is, she will help. I turn off the recording. There was more. Dad was trying to get an account number to do taxes. Nathan called drunk, talking about a business opportunity with a guy named Dylan that no one had ever met. I looked up at Stella, feeling my throat dry. I feel like I'm watching a traffic accident, but I know I'm the victim. That's smart. Stella nodded and opened her laptop. Sending the money was the right move. Now we have to play by the rules. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as if typing her own destiny. How much in total? $312,423.16. A small whistle escaped her mouth. The money is worth protecting. Give me an hour. 1 hour turned into 3, but in the end we created an enviably solid structure, a shell company called Sunbright Haven LLC, registered in Cayman Islands, with all legal documents. I am the sole director, and all assets are no longer in my name. Done, Stella said, pushing the printout onto the table. If someone checked Claire Whitmore's account, they would see a figure close to 0. I nodded, feeling a strange calm spread from my chest to my palms. But what if they already started using my information? Before Stella could reply, my phone vibrated. Nathan. I looked at the screen for a second before pressing listen. Clear too. His voice rang out, sweet as artificial syrup. Remember that plan Dylan and I talked about? Everything is going great. Just a little support from the family, and we can cross the finish line. How much? I interrupted. What? How much do you need this time? It's not like that. Nathan panicked. We just need some support. Mom and Dad are working on the paperwork. I hung up without saying another word. Faster than I thought, I muttered. Stella nodded silently, her face solemn as if she was preparing to enter the courtroom. We should get a warrant for the loan documents. If they used your identity. They used it, I said. There is no doubt about it. It is the truth that is knocking on my spine. Claire, that's cheating, and the most serious kind. Message arrived. Mom, Nathan is sad. Call him back. Families are meant to help each other. I pushed the phone towards Stella. She glanced at it and shook her head. Do they really not realize they are taking advantage of you? I sighed, a long breath as if to force the pain in my heart to sink down. They know, I said. They just don't care. As long as it's effective. I couldn't sleep that night. Whenever Nathan closed his eyes, memories would flash back to him, his first college startup, which had cost his dad his year-end bonus, the sustainable farming project that cost his mom the sale of their land in Eugene. Each time it ended in a loss and a promise to reform. And each time, I was the one who was naturally mentioned as Plan B, the reliable option. The phone vibrated again. Message from Dad. Your mother is worried. Just talk to Nathan, he needs you. I typed again, what about you? Reply immediately. Don't be selfish, Claire. Family comes first. I gripped the phone so tightly that my knuckles turned white. The next morning, I arrived at Stella's office while it was still foggy. I walked in with a thick stack of documents. I need you to do one more thing. I dropped the stack of papers on the table. 10 years of financial records, bank statements, loan applications, everything with my signature. Stella flipped through the pages, her eyes focused like a microscope. Are you looking for a behavioral pattern? My mom's trust fund thing got me thinking. How many times have they used my name without asking? She looked up, her face dark. You think this isn't the first time? I swallowed a lump. I think I've been their backup plan longer than I ever thought. Stella nodded and reached for the phone. I'll have the investigation team investigate. But Claire? She looked straight at me, as one would look at a witness giving testimony. If we find what you suspect, then I will know I did the right thing, I said. And they will learn a lesson they should have learned long ago. Consequences cannot be avoided forever. As I left Stella's office that afternoon, a light drizzle began to drizzle against the windshield. As soon as I opened the car door, my phone vibrated. A text message from my mom. Family meeting tonight. No negotiations. Your brother needs us. I stared at the screen for a moment, then typed just 2 words. No more. Not can't, not available, but not anymore. Because I've done it too many times already. And the only result I get is betrayal disguised as family duty. I blocked all their numbers. All contact. Every time the phone rang from Mom or Dad, my heart sank. Not out of love, but out of survival instinct. Then I drove straight to the bank. I arrived at the West Cascade branch in downtown Portland with a cold determination I had never seen before in myself. After 25 minutes of checking in and checking out, the teller, a curly-haired girl named Brittany, looked at me with concern. Miss Whitmore, is everything okay? I looked her straight in the eye and smiled, a proper smile. Everything is just as it should be. I withdrew all $212,040 in cash, closed all the accounts in my name, and walked away from it like stepping out of an invisible shackle that had held me for most of my life. 3 days later, the loan documents, which I requested through Stella, were brought to my parents' house and tossed on the kitchen table like a judgment. I forced them to be present. No more excuses, no more evasions. I sat in the chair like a prosecutor in a family trial, where everyone pretended not to be guilty. I want to see it all, I said, my voice firm. My mother, Elaine, hands shaking, spread out the files on the table as if they were tablecloths that needed ironing. My father, Charles, stood facing the window, where the neatly trimmed garden still seemed to preserve the facade of the family home. It's just the loan papers for Nathan, Mom said, her voice cracking as she tried to keep it casual. I just went to page 3. This is not my signature. Not really, Mom stammered. And what about this? I picked up a statement, the document they used my account as collateral. This document is dated 2 months ago. I transferred all the money 3 months ago. Explain. My dad finally turned around, but didn't look me in the eye. We have to do something. Nathan and Dylan have a very promising opportunity. Where is Dylan? I interrupted. We're sure. Great opportunity, right? The kitchen suddenly felt cold. Mom bent over her papers as if she were playing a jigsaw puzzle to avoid the truth. Unable to reach, Dad replied after an uncomfortable silence. I leaned forward. What do you mean no contact? He's gone, Mom whispered. The phone's dead. The apartment's empty. Nathan said he might have flown to Singapore. I laughed. There was no mirth in it, just a sound of contempt. So the partner took the money and disappeared. And the parents' reaction was to forge their child's documents. It's not fake, Mom began, her voice as thin as a spider's web. Stop. I slammed my hand on the table. I have the originals. My signature was copied from my college records. My bank statements were forged. My parents broke the law. Because of Nathan. Mother's voice was high-pitched, as if she was about to cry. Everything we do is for the family. Are not, I said, lightly, but like a knife cutting. Everything we did was for Nathan. And this time, we dragged you down without even asking. Dad cleared his throat, his voice trembling like someone standing in the middle of a collapsed bridge. You don't understand, Claire. This house is also collateral. We think Nathan will do it this time. How many times? I pulled out my phone, listing each word like a knife. College startup, $60,000 lost. Breakthrough app, blowing away Mom's inheritance. Import-export business, turned broken without trace. And now, this. That's a lesson learned, Mom yelled. That was a failure, and everyone had to clean up after themselves, but not this time. A car door slammed. Through the window, I saw Nathan stumble up the driveway. His eyes were red, his shirt rumpled. He was muttering under his breath. The smell of alcohol filled his nostrils before he even opened the door. Just in time, I whispered. Did they tell you? He staggered. About the foreclosure notice? I looked up. What? Mom glared at Nathan, but he was too drunk to notice. 10 days. The bank gives 10 days. Unless... Eyes full of hope. Help me. I have money. I always have money. The perfect girl with a savings account and... Enough! Dad's voice was like a whip. Nathan, sit down before you fall over. I stood up and packed up my documents. The house is about to be foreclosed. Mom reached out to take my hand. Claire, honey, we can fix this. If we all work together. No more money, I interrupted. I stood up and packed up my documents. The house is about to be foreclosed. Mom reached out to take my hand. Claire, honey, we can fix this. If we all work together. No more money, I interrupted. That money now belongs to a well-structured company, and one that was created specifically to prevent this from happening. Nathan staggered to his feet. I can't abandon my family. I can't protect yourself? I looked at him without emotion. Can't I keep what I work so hard for, instead of letting it go to your next trick? I turned and walked out the door. The money is gone for you. So is the house. And this time your safety net, that is me, will not be there. Claire? Dad called after him. The media will tear this apart. The foreclosures, the business, it will destroy us. I came back one last time. You ruined everything when you decided that my opinion didn't matter. When you choose to break the law instead of facing the truth. What are you going to do? Mom asked, her voice trembling. Let your parents experience the consequences. Maybe for the first time in their lives. I put my hand on the doorknob. Oh, and Nathan, you should get a lawyer. When they don't get the money from me, they'll come to you. But Mom said Claire would fix everything. She promised. That was the last thing I heard. Nathan's slurred, drunken voice echoing after me as I left the house I once called home. I didn't go back, not once. 4 days later, the war began. The call from my mom came at 6 a.m. I put it on speaker while making coffee. Think of the family reputation, Claire. Her voice cracked like peeling paint. Family reputation? I repeated, My voice flat. You mean the name you forged on a bunch of legal documents? Claire, please. Her voice was low, as if pleading. Your dad's company is asking questions. The club. People are whispering behind your back. We raised you better than that. I hung up. A message came soon after from Dad. The media will destroy us. Is that what you want? Before I could respond, the phone rang. It was Aunt Meredith. I sighed, bracing myself for the familiar, family-burdened scene. But this time, I was wrong. They did, didn't they? Her voice was sharp as a knife. Elaine called me, crying like I was a poisonous snake that brought the whole family down. And now you're calling to convince me to help? I asked, trying to hide the bitterness in my voice. No way, Aunt laughed. I called to tell you the truth they've been trying to hide all this time, about that house. I sat up straight. I'm listening. My grandparents, my aunt's parents, left the house in a trust, divided into 3 parts, Elaine, my aunt, and grandchildren. You are the direct heir, not just a name, Claire. I clutched the phone. What? Surprised yet? Her voice was a bit sarcastic. I owned 1/3 of the house when I was 18. But somehow they made decisions without consulting me. How is that possible? Because they never told me to check the title records. And that's not all. She paused as if testing my endurance. Remember that trust fund your grandparents set up? The one that got reinvested when Nathan needed capital for some weird app in college? The feeling in my stomach dropped like a rock. No way. It's yours, she said, her voice as cold as February snow. Elaine and Charles sold it under Nathan's name, using old paperwork from when you were a minor. Sound familiar? I opened my laptop with shaking hands. Aunt Meredith, please send me all the documents, copies, dates, whatever. I sent it. Check your email. She hesitated. Claire. This isn't the first time they've done this to you. It's just the first time you've been sober enough to notice. I immediately forwarded all the emails to Stella and drove straight to her office. When I walked in, Stella was already sitting in front of the screen. She didn't say hello. She just said, "This is systemic financial abuse, Claire." How bad? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She turned the screen toward me. The trust was sold for $90,000. Your share of the home is now worth about $200,000. There's more. They drained every account, every investment. Almost all of it was stolen or mortgaged, so Nathan could have money to start up. I put my head down in my hands, not out of weakness, but out of the realization that I had been living a lie for more than a decade. Why can't I see? Stella looked up and said softly, "Because they make you believe it's normal. That love means unconditional sacrifice, even your identity, your possessions, your future." Message came in. From Quincy, my cousin. Heads up, Nathan's telling the club bar crowd that your shell company is fake. Says there's evidence you're hiding money illegally. How does he know about the company? Stella asked, eyes narrowing. I gave her the phone and showed her another message from Dad. If the government investigates your foreign accounts, it won't just be the family's reputation that will be affected. Stella raised her eyebrows and lowered her voice. Are they threatening you? No different than usual, I replied, my voice empty. Mentally attack me, put me in the role of the traitor, then force me to feel guilty. Old pattern. Stella quietly stood up, opened the drawer, and took out a file. Then, she said, her voice sharp as a razor blade, it's time to give them real reason to fear. She pushed a stack of legal papers towards me. We're going to file for an emergency order. Freeze everything. The house, all the transfers, everything. Until we prove what they did with your property. They will fight back. Let them. The papers are clear. And Claire? She looked at me seriously. The statute of limitations for financial fraud is 5 years. Anything they do from the time you turn 26, it's prosecutable. My phone lit up again. Mom. I turned on the speakerphone. Her voice rang out, eerily familiar. Claire, we are your parents. We gave you everything. You owe us this. I replied, my voice calm, as if I was reading a statement. Actually, according to your grandparents' will, your parents owe you quite a bit. Want to talk about the trust fund? Or the value of the house you never knew you owned? Absolute silence. Or start with all the times your parents forged your signature since you were of age. On the other side, Mother's voice broke. Who told you? Does it matter? It was all recorded, and now here's the proof. Dad's voice interrupted, urgent. What evidence? Stella put her hand on the phone, interrupting him. Fraud. And my client will pursue full legal action. I advise you both to hire an attorney, immediately. The other end of the line was silent. So, I said, my voice calm in the long silence, family dinner this week is cancelled. Stella closed the file with a decisive click. They won't sit still. Prepare for a counterattack. Are you ready? I looked out the office window. Drizzle ran down the glass like traces of years of abuse. Stolen opportunities. The times I had to shoulder everything, while they silently extracted from me, without shame, even feeling they have the right. I turned back to look at Stella, without a moment's hesitation. Okay, time to show them how responsible I can be. The pile of documents in front of Marcus, a forensic accountant and lawyer whom Stella introduced, looked like a criminal investigation file. It took him 3 days to draw up my entire financial history, and now he was pointing at a timeline marked in glaring red. It is systematic, he said, his voice devoid of any surprise, just the coldness of someone who had seen too much. Every major financial decision of her adult life has been manipulated. I silently looked at each milestone. College scholarship fund, kept by family, then disappeared into Nathan's first startup. Home savings, transferred to joint investment that has never been repaid. A car loan, secured, which I had no idea about, because it was my name. How come I didn't notice anything? I whispered, feeling both ashamed and angry. Because they built it like a house of cards, Marcus said. Every little trick, every temporary help, every sweet lie, until she got used to losing. He pushed a piece of paper towards me that I had never seen before. But this is what worries me the most. I bent down. A loan application, 5 years old. The signature was mine. Or a perfect copy. I never signed this. I know, Marcus replied, his voice firm. But someone else signed it. Multiple times. We found 17 other documents with her signature, related to loans, assignments, even a sub-mortgage agreement. Before I could react, my phone vibrated again. A message from Quincy. Nathan is at the club again. He tells everyone you're trying to destroy the family. Elaine's crying in the bathroom. I clenched my hands into fists. Let them cry. My voice left no room for sympathy. Marcus looked up, eyebrows raised. Social pressure will increase greatly from now on. Are you really mentally prepared? Before I could answer, the office doorbell rang. Marcus turned on the security camera. On the screen was a familiar image, but more distorted and ragged than ever. Nathan. Crumpled shirt, red face from alcohol, unsteady eyes. Claire, open the door. We need to talk. I pressed the button, my voice flat. Go home, Nathan. Mom is dying of sadness. His voice rang out, high-pitched. Dad's company is about to fire him, all because you refuse to help. Marcus pressed the record button. I looked straight into the microphone. You forged my papers. You mom and dad are all guilty. Not a scam, Nathan screamed. It's just creative finance. Your fake company is worse. I froze. Marcus looked up immediately, sharply. What fake company, Nathan? What island did you set up? To hide the money. Dad knows everything. His friend at the bank told him everything. He even knows where you transferred the money. Marcus began typing like a machine. Breach of bank security. I will add a new item. The doorbell kept ringing. Nathan's voice echoed through the speaker system. Get down. We can fix everything, like always. I held down the intercom button, this time my voice trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the anger I had suppressed for so long. There's nothing left to fix, Nathan. It's done. Then I will tell everyone, he shouted, about the offshore accounts, about how you planned it for months, about how you betrayed me, my own family. Just tell me, I said, still looking straight at the security camera. Tell everyone how you knew I was going to stop being a safety net. So instead of learning to face reality, you committed a crime. Outside, silence. Then, thud. The sound of Nathan's fist pounding on the wooden door echoed like an echo from the past. Do you think you are perfect? He hissed. More than me? You're selfish, always like that. Your parents gave you everything. Are not, I replied, almost whispering. They took everything from me. And now they're losing it. It's not revenge. It's consequences. Marcus cut the recording, looking up from his computer with a cold gaze. Good. He just indirectly admitted to knowing about the fraud scheme and even mentioned an inside source within the bank. A clear breach of confidentiality. Sound ding. My phone rang. A message from Stella. Her parents' lawyers just got in touch. They're offering to negotiate. Immediately after that, another message from Mom. We raised our son better than that. A son who loves his family wouldn't do that. I showed the screen to Marcus. She glanced at it, frowning. They are desperate. The clock is ticking. And they are starting to understand. The old tricks are not working. Next step? I asked, my voice dry. Marcus pulled out a folder and handed me a printout. We file this, a formal complaint listing every act of financial abuse, from every forged signature to every shady transfer. Once filed, it becomes public record. They will be ridiculed, I muttered. Are not, Stella corrected. They will be investigated by the bank and possibly the FBI if wire fraud is proven. This is no longer about family honor, Claire. This is a financial crime. I held the pen. My hand was shaking slightly, but as the first stroke of ink hit the paper, I felt a strange sense of relief. A real signature at last, after a lifetime of forgeries. Marcus pulled out one last stack of papers. And this, I bent down, a remittance form from 12 years ago. Her entire college fund was transferred to Nathan's corporate account. I was stunned. I was never notified. My first semester tuition was refunded due to a bank error. I had to take out a loan to get into school. And Nathan used that for his first startup, which failed within 6 months. I clenched my fists. The numbness spread from my wrists to my shoulders. For years I thought I was a poor manager and a poor spender. I never expected that everything would be decided before I even realized I had a choice. The phone vibrated again. Dad. Whatever you're going to send, don't do it. We can work it out as a family. I looked at Marcus. Send it. Send it all. He nodded and began scanning the documents. You know there's no going back, right? Good, I replied, because I'm tired of going back. It's time for them to move on, straight to the consequences they deserve. The foreclosure notice from the bank came on a Tuesday. Cold. Unannounced. Wednesday afternoon, my phone was practically blowing up. Texts from Quincy, from an old friend from the club, from Aunt Meredith. Elaine cried during lunch, Meredith said when I picked up the phone. Threw wine glasses, called me all sorts of things. They had to remove her from the main dining room. I leaned back in Stella's office chair, the dull ache in the back of my head no longer keeping me from moving. What about Charles? The company is temporarily suspended. Financial fraud is not something the asset management industry likes to report. Before I could respond, the phone rang again. Meredith, less than an hour later. Her voice was low, strained as a bowstring. You need to know this. Nathan just took out more money, personal loans, from people outside the bank. The kind of people who, when they don't pay you back, will come to your door and break your bones. I got chills. How do you know? Because one of them just came to find him at his aunt's house. He was wearing a suit, driving a fancy car, but his eyes were like grindstones. Claire, this is no longer a legal matter. This is a matter of survival. Stella opened her laptop, her fingers flying quickly over the keyboard. If there is a criminal element, which there clearly is, then we need to keep every detail. I nodded when the phone vibrated. Group message from Mom. Emergency family meeting, 7 o'clock tonight. Everyone must attend. Stella raised her head, frowning. Don't go. It's not wise. I have to go, I replied. But I won't go alone. At exactly 7 p.m., Stella and I entered the house on Hawthorne Street, once a home, now a crime scene. The living room was packed, Mom in her wrinkled black dress, mascara smeared down her cheeks. Dad sat stony-faced. Nathan kept jumping up and down, picking at his nails, eyes darting around. Aunt Meredith and Quincy had arrived. This is a family meeting, Mom yelled when she saw Stella walk in with me. She stayed, I replied, walking straight to the chair. Now, what's the story? We need to fix this, Dad said, his voice as heavy as stone. Banks, investors, no one is willing to cooperate. No cooperation? Meredith laughed dryly. You've been scamming your own daughter for years, Stuart. Who do you want to cooperate with? We do what is necessary. Mother tearfully. For Nathan, for this family's reputation. I looked around the room, where I used to sit in 7th grade, where I used to correct Nathan's math problems, where my honorary degree that was now gone hung. And what was the result? I asked, my voice eerily calm. Nathan stood up, his face red as blood. It's all your fault. If only you had helped like you were supposed to. I pulled out my phone and turned on the recorder. Be clear, Nathan. What should I have done? He began to pace back and forth like a caged animal. I knew it. Mom and Dad said I would understand. They said when the time came, I would do the right thing. Never abandon my family. Mother's face turned pale. Nathan, stop it. They believe you can save everyone, Claire, so they use your account, because they know I will take responsibility for them. Stella remained silent, but her hands flew rapidly across the keyboard. Mom lunged forward, trying to snatch my phone, but I backed away. So, they planned it from the beginning? I asked again, my eyes glued to Nathan. Of course, he shouted. From the time my first business needed capital, they said don't worry. Claire will take care of it. Shut up, Nathan, Dad roared, standing up. Are not, Meredith spoke up, now holding up her phone to record. Let him talk. Just tell him all about the family's creative finance. From the corner of the sofa, Quincy, who had been silent until now, spoke up with a half smile. Hey, did you guys know this meeting is being recorded on 3 different devices? Mom turned around. What? Yeah, Quincy checked his phone. And I think by mistake sent Nathan's video to the golf club group, where there were several local reporters. The space was as quiet as death. Delete it. Nathan lunged at Quincy, but was stopped by Meredith's raised hand. No way, Quincy said very calmly. It's already been downloaded. Mother collapsed into a chair, her hands holding her head. Do you know what you just did? No, Quincy replied. You just made sure the truth came out, just in time. The phone started ringing. Local news, social media tags, messages from acquaintances. The ding-ding was the soundtrack to collapse. Stella glanced at the phone and smiled slightly. The local business news site just posted an article, the headline, Prominent Family Accused of Systematic Financial Fraud. Claire, Dad called, his eyes pleading. You have to speak up. Say it's not true. I stood up, each word spoken like a public declaration. Yes, you should say something. Mother looked up. Her eyes seemed to find hope. I'll start with the fact that my parents stole my college fund, I continue. Then there's the forged documents, the illegal loans. Want to check the evidence now? Dad was pale as candle wax. I won't do that. Just then, my phone rang. A local reporter called. Really? I picked up the phone, looking at everyone in the room. I think I'll take this call here. Does anyone want to hear it? The scene of disintegration took place without words. Mom staggered into the kitchen. Dad disappeared into the office. Nathan yanked the door open and rushed out as if he was on fire. Only Meredith, Quincy, and Stella remained. Quincy grinned. You know what the sweetest revenge is? I nodded, eyes not leaving the phone screen. The truth, told loud and clear, and no one can stop it anymore. I picked up the phone. Yes, I would be happy to speak. In fact, I have quite a story to tell. Behind me, my mother's sobbing voice echoed from the kitchen. But for the first time in my life, her tears could no longer move me.